Call this meeting of the Reno City Council to order at 6 p.m. Monday evening, May 11, 2015. If you'll stand, we'll have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and the Texas flag. Shall we pray? Our Father, we thank you for the gift of life, and Lord, we know that all good things come from Thee. Lord, we do pray that you take this meeting, lead and guide in all that's said and done. Help us, Lord, to remember those of us who are in positions of responsibility that ultimately we're servants of yours as we serve the people. And Lord, we pray that you just help us to do those things, be pleasing in your sight, beneficial to our community as a whole. We pray that you forgive us for our sins where we failed you, for we ask it in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Joy McCarthy.
Here.
Brandon Thomas.
Here.
Amanda Willows. Here. Show absent Mayor Huberger and Councilmember Walter Cooper. Also present Mayor Pro Tem Rick Jordan, City Attorney David Hamilton, and Kara Hubbard taking the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, citizens' comments. Jerry, no one? Okay. Item 7, consent items, discuss, take action. Item 7A through D and subsections 1, 2, 3. Monthly bills and purchase orders for April 2015. Minutes for April 2015 City Council meetings. Financial update as of April 30, 2015. Monthly activity reports for April 2015 from Police Department, Public Works Department, and Reno Volunteer Fire Department. Any discussion on these things before we have a motion? We can act on all of them together. Item 7A through D, subsections 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion to approve consent items A through D, sub 1, 2, and 3.
I second.
Have a motion from Councilman McCarthy, a second from Councilman Thomas. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Item 8, business discussion, take action on presentation by a representative from the Texas Emergency Services Retirement System regarding a retirement plan for the Reno Volunteer Fire Department. Chad?
Mayor, Council, this was on the April meeting. There were some questions regarding the system. So I have Michelle Jordan, the Executive Director of that system here, to help we can answer any questions way better than I can. So I'll turn it over to her. If y'all have any questions for her or me, I'll be right here.
Thank you, Chad. Ms. Jordan? Glad you could make it. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I'm probably more challenged statutorily than most of your guests here. Appreciate you having me. I'm glad that y'all are okay, given all the tornadoes and bad weather. Glad of it. I've given you a couple of handouts, and I won't go through them verbatim, but wanted you to have them. One is a PowerPoint with some general information on the system. And then there's a one-page summary of benefits. It kind of highlights the benefits of the system, and we'll go through that a little bit too. And then there's a brochure, and I stash business cards in my glove compartment, and Mayor Pro Tem brought to my attention that I passed out some of my staff members' cards. So I'd be happy to get you one of my cards. But I'll start out by telling you the emergency services retirement system is not new. It's been around since 1977, and it was actually created with the help of the State Firemen and Fire Marshals Association, together with the legislature and firefighters around the state at that time. We're very proud of it being the only state-sponsored pension system for volunteer firefighters and first responders. First responders were added in 1996 as being eligible to participate in the program. It is all for volunteers, and we have 224 member departments around the state and growing. Over 4,000 active volunteers that are in the system, about 3,100 retirees, and spouse beneficiaries. So we, every month we mail out those checks to those retirees, and we pay disability and death benefits out to our members and their families. And that's really what this system was created for. Intended to be a partnership between the state of Texas and local communities to provide for the security of the members and their families. I can't tell you how many times I talk to departments, and I think the general thought process is that something bad isn't going to happen. It might, but it probably won't. But the reality is it does. Every month I sign on these claims that come in, and it's a guy that went to put out a fire in his shed, and the shed, roof fell on his head. And because of our program, we can pay and make sure that family has some income while the volunteer is getting treatment, and if they never do, then they can remain on disability for the rest of their life. And should they perish, the death benefit is $60,000 to the family in a lump sum. It's delivered within 48 hours to make sure that the lights stay on, to make sure that nobody has any worries at that time. In addition to the $60,000, the family benefits from a 2/3 payment of what the member would have received had they been vested and retired through the system. And they get that payment for the rest of their lives. And there's off-duty death benefit, and that means if you have an active volunteer that's on your roster and in our system, and outside of an emergency call, if something happens to them, then the family shares in an off-duty death benefit. And what we do is we immediately vest that person's record as if they had been eligible to retire, and the family receives 2/3 of that payment for the rest of their life.
This spouse, I
The
guess.
spouse, yes. If there are children, the spouse and the children share in that payment.
I see.
There's also a death benefit for spouses of retirees. We don't have retirees yet, but we hope that you'll be our next member, and if you do, then you'll have retirees. And when they pass away, their spouse will receive that 2/3 benefit for the rest of their lives. So it is for the member and the family, in recognition of all the sacrifices that those families make when their spouse, their family member, is out volunteering for the community. There's a lot of value in this as a recruiting and a retention tool, because there is a partial vesting at 10 years and 55 years old. A member could retire and receive 50% of their benefit. Full vesting is at 15 years of service and 55 years old. So every year we send out a statement of benefits to all of our actives, and it tells them how many more years they need to volunteer in order to earn their benefit. And when they do, what that benefit will be worth. And that helps us create the retention tool for you to keep them coming back. They can also leave a member department and go to another member department and transfer their service. They can leave your department and come back anytime for the rest of their life and be a member and pick up just where they left off with their service. There are 3 levels of a member in the system.
Okay.
The first, and they aren't treated any differently in our system, but one is the straight active volunteer firefighter or first responder that goes out on calls and isn't paid a dime. The second is a support services member, and typically the folks that are assigned to that are people that wouldn't pass a certification of physical fitness. And so instead, they answer the phone at the station, they maintain the vehicles, they take care of office work, in that they are eligible to participate in the system. And then the third is an auxiliary member. Under the IRS guidelines and our rules, a member can receive up to $9,250 a year and still be considered volunteer. They will have to get a 1099 at the end of the year from you. Of course, you'll have to follow the advice of your accounting and legal folks on that, but they are eligible to participate in our system in that way. Once you join our system, it's sort of like that Eagles song, you can come in but you can't ever leave. It's like that. But it's because it's a promise. It's a promise of security and benefits to the volunteers. It's a promise to maintain a level of funding to keep the system sound. Now, our system is actuarially sound, which is, sort of unusual these days in pension systems, and we would like to keep it that way. And as part of, determining actuarial soundness, they factor in future revenues, and they determine that based on current membership. And so, department would only be eligible to no longer be a member is if they had no more active members, and all of their retirees had passed. And then they can opt out of the system. If there are no active volunteers, of course, no contributions would be due. But we need the department to be active so that the local board can continue to approve paperwork associated with those folks. So there is a local board requirement, and that is to help us make sure that the records are accurate and that everybody's present and accounted for. The local board should have 3 actives that are elected by the volunteer fire department. That helps create excitement and ownership over this being their benefit. 2 members come from the community. Typically, they are retirees of the system, but they don't have to be. They can even be active members. The only caveat is if they have to live in the community being served by the department. And then the other member is from the governing body. So it would be the city of Reno, and that is to ensure that there is an appropriate level of oversight and investment on the part of the political subdivision. And we are only allowed to contract with political subdivisions. We can't contract with volunteer departments directly by statute. So we contract with counties, ESDs, cities. And I think that that's appropriate because these are the communities that are benefiting from the volunteer service. We are growing. In the past, I don't think the agency was sure if bringing new departments in was a good idea financially for the system. and we've determined that it is based on our actuaries and our accountants. And so we've actually asked the legislature for additional marketing resources to go out and bring in new departments. And that's going to be good for the system in the long run. And so, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Very informative. Questions, council?
Okay, like one of the things that says that we can actually go over the $36 a month on a person, someone, and that their benefits would be higher, their monthly benefits.
And I didn't speak to that, the contribution rates, and so I'll be glad to do that if you would like me to. The minimum rate is $36 per person per month. And we have some departments, the highest we have is $290 per member per month. They're in Far, Texas. And the reason that the contribution rate is significant is that when a person retires, we determine their annuity by taking their average contributions per month times 6. So if someone were to be ready to retire, and their average contribution on their behalf had been 36 the whole time, 36 times 6, I think is $212 or something like that, is what they would receive every month for the rest of their life. The disability payment starts at $400 a month. For every $12 increment over the minimum, it increases the disability payment by $50 a month. So that if you pay $48 a month, somebody would get $450 if they had that thought disability. And there's something else that's kind of cool that a lot of departments utilize, and we call it a 13th check. And that gives the political subdivision some flexibility every year, that if there is a little extra dab of money and you wanted to, say, give it to your retirees in December, which we have some departments that do that, and they'll give us an amount of money, we apply it equally across all retirees in one lump sum. And we can also do it to the accounts of actives. We just, it depends on if you specify that. And a one-time lump sum payment would increase the average monthly contribution for those actives when they got ready to retire. It's a way of increasing it without committing to an ongoing increased rate. With that being said, if you do increase your rate, then you can do it at any time, in any increment. It could be just $2 a month per person per month that you want to increase it. You can always go down, just can't go lower than the $36.
Can you do individual prices different?
No.
It's all got, everyone's got to be on the same playing field.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Everybody treated the same.
Okay. But if you are, Michelle, if you are a funding level of $50, let's say, and of course it's across the board, each one $50, right? You can't deviate.
No, sir.
And you're into 2 years, and let's say for whatever reason, budget constraints or whatever, you can go down to 36.
Yes.
Okay.
Assuming that the board hasn't increased it to a new minimum.
Yeah.
I can tell you though that they have stair-stepped it up. It used to be $6 per person per month, and then a retiree would get $36 after taxes. It wasn't much the help that it was intended to be, or the retention tool. So they did increase it to 36, but I don't believe the board would want to change that at any time because it would have an actuarial impact. And we don't want to do anything at this point because we are solvent to mess with that.
So are y'all governed by anything like that says that you can't raise the rates at so much percent per year?
No.
So y'all can just raise the rate if y'all wanted to at any time?
It's at the will of the board, but our board is also firefighters and first responders.
Right.
And 6 of them are members of the system. And, they are not going to do anything that would jeopardize the benefits. Because if we did get into a position, God forbid, and had to reduce benefits, then, they would have an interest in that. So I don't see them doing that without an awful lot of thought or reason to do it.
Right.
Okay? Mr. Attorney, do you have any questions that come to mind in listening to Michelle's presentation?
Local board responsibilities, I'm looking at your PowerPoint here now, and in addition to retirement, disability, and death benefit decisions, do they have any other responsibilities toward the plan? For instance, if a firefighter's there for 6 years and qualifies, and then all of a sudden the 7th year has some medical issues and can't meet the minimum qualifications and comes back, who makes the decision? Is that person still in? Is that person out? What are the results of that?
We ask every department board to appoint an administrator that will maintain the pension system and go in there and keep the roster up to date in the service time, whether or not that person met drills and emergencies for the year. So the process on disability claims, or retirement for that matter, usually starts with a member contacting us. We give them the form, and then we send it on to the local board, who looks at it and says, yeah, I remember John Doe, he was here, we'll sign off on this and okay this. In matters of a dispute over service time, they would have to, we would go by what was in the system, had been entered in by the department and approved. And we would tell them that they did not qualify based on the service. If they wanted to appeal it, it would go back to the local board. If they were not satisfied with the local board's decision, it would go to the state.
Okay.
Is that where?
Yes, ma'am. The money that's unvested, I mean, I read the investment provisions. If a person resigns or retires, quits before that, does that unvested money, is it labeled for Reno, or did it just go into the general fund?
It goes into the general fund.
Okay.
If that person ever comes back, like we talked about, they would pick up with their service time like it had always been there for them. If they don't, and that happens sometimes, it's a credit to the system, and that's what helps us pay for the death and disability benefits. Because really, the contribution is going straight to the retirement. We have to have some mechanism to pay for the death and the disability.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Michelle, for the death and disability, do you reinsure that? Do you buy insurance for that? Or are you paying it directly from the fund balance?
We pay it directly from the fund balance.
So, I see. Okay.
And, our actuary has looked at the benefits compared to probabilities of certain kinds of events and determined at a $36 membership rate and a certain expected number of actives, that is all copacetic.
In setting this up, the board, do you or any of your associates, do you come and help set up the board and put it in place, do the paperwork and all that help the city do this, or
We can help. We can
do you,
definitely.
a hands-on
We can definitely
setup?
help you do that.
Mhm.
And it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
It's really not. Initially, it will be, I think, to get everybody entered in. That'll probably be the most work, is to get all the actives into the system, to get the board appointed, to help make sure that local board members know their responsibilities, that the meetings have to be posted, that they have to keep minutes, that they have to keep the records. But once they get into the groove, I don't think it will be too much of a burden. For what I hope that the city will get out of it, which is increased retention and recruiting for the program. And, you know, we haven't had a lot of money to spend on those kinds of things to help, but we do have plans starting in September to send out a nice certificate that can be hung on the wall to say, you know, Emergency Services Retirement System recognizes the Reno Volunteer Fire Department as a proud member of the system, so that when they walk in the station, they see that, and it's a reminder. We will also be sending out cards that they can put in their wallet, so that, again, seeing is remembering, and they can see it, but also if they have a question, they can have an 800 number on the back. If something happens and they need to make a disability claim, when they do. And so I think things like that will help. And as we become more involved in social media, I think that'll help too. So we're partners in it with you. We have a vested interest in actives staying in the system, paying contributions for the liabilities of the fund. So I want to make sure that we help you and give you as many tools as we can.
Okay.
And you will be our first department in this county.
In this county?
In this county.
Really?
That's right.
What's the closest one to us that you have? Yeah.
Clarksville. It's Clarksville.
Yeah, that might be it.
Clarksville?
They're, you know, they tend to be most heavy around, you know, the big metropolitan areas, the outlying of Dallas, an outlier of Houston,
Sure.
or Austin. But, you know, they are everywhere, in every corner of the state. On our website, there's a map of all of our departments, and we stuck little pin cushions in a state of Texas map to see where they are, and they're everywhere. Not in this county yet. So we're excited about that, because they, you know, it's a financial issue, but it's also an issue of, I'd like to see the volunteers in the state have those benefits. I think they deserve it. 75% of fire service in Texas is accomplished by volunteer departments. A lot of people don't know that. FEMA did a study that said the value that a volunteer firefighter brings to a community every year is $45,000 against loss of life and property. So it's important. We need them to keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Carrie, do you have any questions? Yeah,
It's been a real pleasure.
I had one, but she answered it, so.
she did?
Yeah, before I had to ask it, so.
Amanda?
I think she's covered everything.
Well, thank you so much.
We thank you,
Thank you very much.
Michelle, so much for coming all the way from Austin.
My pleasure.
Chad, you have anything?
No more questions for me?
How many active members do y'all have now?
We have right about, it fluctuates anywhere from 15 to 20. And with this, our members are aware of the fact that their service is going to be counted. I mean, it's depending on how active they're going to be, and they have to make a movement of matter. And so with this program alone, we'll get better participation, because if not, they don't get the year's service.
how many do you think are going to say okay and actually sign up for it?
I think what we'll probably have is a few get off. I say get off, a few that aren't showing up that will be gone. That way we're not paying for them.
Right.
And so it's a good reason for people to show up. Our yellow members, you got 18-year-olds aren't thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
They're not looking past 25, most of them 55.
Sure.
But most of our members aren't. We don't have any 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds. We have a handful of them. Most of them are above the mid-30s. And so I'm hoping what it'll really do will get more Reno residents interested in the fire department. Because 3, 4, 5 members makes a big difference. That's a lot of weight taken off the other members.
Is that a requirement that, I heard her speak on it, but I wasn't clear. Do they have to be a resident of Reno?
No. They have to make a certain percentage of the meetings and a certain percentage of the drills and calls. And so it'll help us get more help out there for us. And it'll really ends in a higher level of service for our citizens.
On the physical fitness part, how are y'all gonna certify that?
That's a medical physical.
So
We'll have to do.
will y'all have to pay for that?
We'll have to figure out some way to budget. We'll have to probably talk to Dr. Jones, who does it in Paris. I'm sure there's other doctors that can do, whoever the city here uses. Because I'm sure they have DOT vehicles that are done. And honestly, it's good because just like we had in Paris 2 weeks ago, we had a 37-year-old guy that's in good shape that had a cardiac arrest. So this job's demanding as far as cardiovascular goes. And so I think it still will save the city some money in the long run. Because if you get one of those hits on you, one of those line of duty deaths or something like that, besides the psychological and the emotional loss, you also have the monetary loss of stuff being paid out, workers' comp, things like that, disability, all that. I won't say good stuff, but all those things.
If you have a guy that has medical insurance to their employer, will one of their, if they go for an annual physical, will that suffice for the certificate?
Well, I say, in Mount Pleasant, and Mount Pleasant had something similar, they wanted me to get a medical physical. Well, Paris pays for me to get a medical physical. It's and it meets the criteria for NFPA, just something a little more than just a regular physical. And
I was just going to say, the regular physical you get at your doctor is just fine. And it's a simple little form, they just have to sign.
most insurance, I say most, they have some preventative care now. You can get a physical free or relatively cheap. And it's something we can look at and see what the cost associated with it is and see what the number is. Because we may have a bunch that say, hey, I get this every year already. Just send it with them to their family doctor and get it signed. We may have a bunch that say, I don't go to the doctor, I don't have a doctor. And so.
But if they've got that benefit, I'd like to see them exercise it before we have to pay for it, if they get it as on annual preventative maintenance type of deal.
I think it'd be kind of one of those, you don't mind, get this done. And as long as the doctor will sign off on it, and our local board's good with it, and the state board's good with it, which I'm sure they would be, I wouldn't foresee it being an issue. And I don't know this, I'm speaking out of turn, but, you go to some of these doctors, say, it's for volunteer fire department, and maybe that is a better deal than, because it's a finite amount of people. It's not like hundreds of people we're sending up.
Or you may get 100% of it, which will be great.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, we still, if we had 30 people show up, if this gets okay and the next month it gets okay, we had 45 people show up and say, hey, I want the fire department. We can't take in 45 people. We can't outfit them. I don't have a budget. I'll never have a budget for that amount of people. And so it's a good problem to have that we get to pick and choose some of the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
And so that would be something to look at. And the other thing is if we can keep 30 or 40 of them, that's great for us. That helps lower our ISO rating, our level of care for our citizens. We're good to go. But I guarantee you, since in the last 15 years, probably never been, we have too many people showing up. It's never been an issue about that.
Yeah.
Now, we've been lucky that we usually have enough show up, but not
Too many.
Anybody got any other questions for the chief? Michelle?
This is out of turn, but I thought of something that you might think is beneficial is, there's a bill, and I believe it's going to pass, and it will provide that if somebody is a member of our system, that any fire science course that they take at any Texas university is tuition free and lab fee free.
What now?
Because I'm doing this right now. What it is the state legislators come through and said, paid firemen, some volunteer firemen, they can go to college and get a degree in specific subjects related to emergency services, emergency management, fire science, things like that. And they don't pay tuition, they don't pay lab fees. They have to pay a few institutional fees, stuff like that. But it's at an extremely reduced rate compared to what normal college tuition is.
And you used to have to be certified through SFFMA or TCFIP to get it. And this bill will say you just have to simply be a member of the TESRS pension system, and then you'll get those classes at a zero cost.
Say degree or like certificate?
No, like I'm getting a degree in emergency management from West Texas A&M. And so I pay 2 fees to go there.
And the language of the statute says fire science curriculum. So,
Over like an academy?
Could there be some courses just certificate-wise that they could go to, that
Yes,
some of
there's
your members could
certificates like-
get benefit from?
EMT, they can go get their EMT from PJC,
Really?
and no tuition, no fees. And when I say no fees, schools have learned that this isn't good for them because it's a non-funded mandate from the state. So they have to basically deal with it and just smile and bear it. And so, funding usually,
Funded mandate, yeah.
You know how those go.
Yeah, we don't have them.
That ought to be a good marketing tool to get
is.
people to join.
and we have a lot of guys and parents that are doing it. And, you know, it's a good program. PJC's aware of it, and they can go all the way up to the current money. Good deal. As long as it stays in place.
Yeah. Hurry and get your degree.
So, as soon as it came up,
Okay.
I think I read a while ago that there's a buyback provision that goes back for like 10 years, but it has to be exercised within 2 years of signing up? Okay.
and on our buyback, we've kind of looked at it, with the exception of me and 1 or 2 others, the majority of our guys have been there 3 or 4 years with us. I've been there the longest, 15 years. And so the buyback is something that as a board we can talk about as far as how to fund it.
Have you talked to anybody that may be interested in those 2 community trustee spots?
I don't know. The only thing we've done as far as the board is we've got our 3 people. We did that earlier in the winter, just so we'd be ready and have our ducks in a row whenever this came forward. And right now what we did was put myself, we put Charles Edwards and Bobby Graves on it. And we didn't do like certain specific ranks or anything like that. It's just 3 members. And so that's what we tell our members is whoever wants to do it, you know, anybody interested, we had 3 nominations. That's what was open.
On the one trustee selected by this board, does it have to be a member of this board?
I wouldn't think so. I would think it would just be something
That
like,
we should?
and we kind of run the same thing in Paris with our pension, and they had Gene Anderson on our board at the Paris Fire. It's a different system, but there's some similarities there.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions for the chief?
Thank you, council.
Thank you,
Thank
chief.
you.
Okay, council, this, of course, has been a presentation. This is a discussion to take action item. My suggestion, and of course, we can hear from others of the council what your thoughts on this is. We're going to have a new mayor and a new member of council by next month's meeting. And they'll need to be brought up to speed on this. And so my thought is that it would be good if we tabled this until the July meeting for any action on it. That's just my thinking on it. Now, I'm certainly open to hearing your thoughts on it.
To the June meeting? Or July?
The July meeting, because they'll have to be brought up to speed and they won't be here active until the June meeting, apparently, probably, or sworn in at that time.
Are the budget workshops in October?
No, the budget
Oh.
needs to be adopted by
Yeah.
October 1st, so that's what the budget work needs to be starting. And this would be really to work towards to be able to do it
Okay.
with that next budget.
I think it'll be good because these two community trustees, I think they're gonna maybe we'll go up to this work, find somebody
Yeah.
in the community to do this, so maybe give us
There's a lot involved here that's got to be
And the
decided.
one trustee,
That's
so it
right.
may not be a bad idea.
So,
I think we should wait.
we need a motion on that.
If you want to, yes, table
Need a
it to a
motion
specific
for-
time or to.
Okay. So, we'll need a motion on that to table this until the July meeting.
I move that we go ahead and table this until the July council meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion to table item section 8A until the July 2015 meeting by Councilman Thomas and by Council Lady Willows. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Section 8C, I'm sorry, Section 8B, task order authorizing the city engineer to proceed with the preparation of plans and specifications for a radio read water meter project. Thank you, Michelle. Drive careful. Thank you, Charles. All of you.
Hey, Bob.
This is a task order that we need to authorize our city engineer, Velvin Weeks, to perform for the specifications of this. The hourly charges that are there are in line with what we've paid for other projects, a city engineer. And this is for the radio read water meter project that's been discussed in last month's council meeting.
And so it was voted to move forward on, and
Yes.
so this just needs to be signed so we can.
We just need authorization to sign this to get the engineer involved.
And it would need to be approval for the mayor pro tem to sign to move forward.
This is what we approved last meeting, wasn't it?
Yes,
go
it was
forward.
approved to move
Yes.
forward, and then we contacted them to
This
get
is
it in the
the
works to move forward, and then this needs to be signed to go ahead and do that.
task order to get them.
Okay. I move that we allowed the mayor pro tem to sign for the task order authorizing the city engineer to proceed with the preparation of plans and specifications for the radio water read meter project.
We have a
I'll
motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Councilman Thomas and a second by Councilman McCarthy. Any other discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item Section 8C, invoice number 13334 from Hayter Engineering, Inc. for GIS easements layers in the amount of $2,000 $500. This is for GIS easement work that's already been performed this year, that they've already done. And this is to pay them for work thus far.
They're already through with this, right?
They're through with it, yes, sir.
The project in the whole is not through.
For this year.
For this year, it is through.
Oh.
Because there was $5,000 budgeted, and they started off doing the heaviest populated subdivisions that were the easiest to
Today.
get up. Yeah, so we got the majority, but then there's some of the outlying ones that will take a little bit more work to do.
That'd be next year?
Yeah, that will be the next step, if there's money in the budget
Right.
next year to be able to keep moving with the project.
It's just about 25.
After next year, do you think that they'd be done? Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll have to look and see.
How much they get done next year.
Yeah.
It's a
How hard
slow
it is to
go.
find, yeah, how hard it is to find those
It's like
documents.
it just makes me feel like I'm paying someone by the hour, is what it is. And I'm watching them sit over there and wave at me.
But the
You know, I'm
GIS,
working.
there's just so many more layers, so it's just,
Right.
I mean, and we have a couple, there's a few more that would be great to have, but anytime that you can come in and look at it to see how it really works,
Oh, yeah.
it's something else.
The word project is an
It's
apt
well worth it.
description. It's a project.
It's an ongoing, and it's updated.
For what it
and
costs, I
really
hope it
good.
is. You know,
And they're really good with anything that we find in there that's not accurate or that changes, and when new subdivisions are added, just getting it right on there and updating it. It's-
I'll make a motion, we will approve invoice number 13334 from Hayter Engineering in the amount of $2,500 for the GIS easement layer.
I second.
We have a motion by Councilman McCarthy and a second by Councilman Thomas. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item 8D, purchase a backup server from TMS Consulting Services in the amount of $2,000. Chief Birch.
Ladies and gentlemen, the quote, this is the second half of what was discussed last month. Quotes for $2,000. The agreement, get to it here, it was decided last month, was reworked to the specifications of Councilman McCarthy. And the rest of the council, we wanted to be sure that on-site and off-site backup was outlined in there. The $250 for the emails all included in the $1,500 a month. And then the other provision where funds in the current year budget had to be found to be able to pay for the backup server and the $1,500 setup fee.
Yeah.
To get them started. Kara, you want to refer to that, refer to you on the funding of that, the $1,500
On
start
the
fee and
funding,
then
the
the backup
15
server.
The $1,500 is in the budget, which would be fine. The $2,000 for the backup server could be used from technology and security or security fund from the court.
Is this
If
a
the
city
council
server
so-
or a PD server? Or both?
Both.
It would be both.
This one would be both. It's just a backup. All this is it's not a server.
Like a router.
Yeah, it's not like the one you get on with a Windows-based system to get on and it's like a big giant computer. It's a hub. It stores and encrypts data and transmits it to the offsite location. That's all it is.
Sends it to the cloud.
Yes. Securely pushes it to the internet and transfer it. Don't ask me how they
Do we have to specify if we're doing it from the technology?
That's okay with CJIS.
No, if the council
Yes.
just approves.
Yes, because they will make sure it's separated and encrypted to CGI standards and make sure it's transmitted in CGI standards and stored in their location offsite as well to CGI standards.
Did you say we don't need to say that?
Of course, we discussed this at last month's council meeting, and so this, we just need to take action on this.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of a backup server from TMS Consulting Service in the amount of $2,000.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilperson Willis,
I second.
second by Councilman Thomas. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Item section 8E, placing information on city website to notify the Reno citizens on where to vote for future elections.
Mayor, Pro Tem, I had that placed on there. I would just like to see, if the city does have an upcoming election, that's one of the first things they see when they open that page up
At election time.
at election time. And also, all the important dates of the election on the calendar, like last day for
Early
early
voting.
voting, first day, I mean, on our calendar we have on there.
One of the problems with that, which is, that's great, but anything that goes on the website needs to be bilingual, so we'll just have to get somebody that will be able to translate it and put it on there for that. So if I have to find somebody.
The one, I mean, that's a good idea, but the ones that I've looked at, there wasn't any bilingual stuff on. But that's a good idea to have it bilingual on there. I didn't think of that, but.
For voting,
Yeah,
anything that has to do with voting.
Yes, they haven't made it mandatory yet, but I mean, it's great that it should be on there.
Do we know anyone that could do that?
I would think maybe somebody at PJC and, oh, you can?
That's reputable. We don't want,
Because I think we've done that.
We have to call one of the booking
yeah.
to help us book one in that we can't hobble with.
Okay.
I don't think it'd really be an issue getting somebody to do it.
There's Spanish teachers in us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that PJC, I think there was a Spanish teacher in the past that had helped us with some of the translation.
There's a lady here in Reno too that's offered to help translate.
Okay.
I'd just like to see it on there. I mean, I don't see it being an issue of letting our citizens know when and where easily they can look to vote.
Absolutely, we want to make it voting, we want to encourage them to vote and make it as accessible as possible.
Easy for them.
And certainly with the information, it is on the site, but we've had an issue as far as the times, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, you just have to go navigate your way through there to find it. And I never did. Kara called and told me where it was.
So,
And then I would have bet my life that it had the time and date on there. I would have lost, I would have died, I mean, 'cause I would have bet. And then I went and looked and went,
I just assumed
I
it
would've
did
thought,
myself.
well,
Well, I told some folks to go to the
That's
site.
easily fixable. So.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what, as soon as I realized it, I went out there and put it on there, but it was kind of at late date.
Late, yeah.
Yeah, kind of late
I
date.
just got tired of fielding calls.
Okay, do we need action on this?
I think it's more of a discussion.
Just more,
Yeah.
you want, okay, all right. I think we're all in agreement that this, certainly, at election time, this needs to be done, it needs to be there. And,
I think we need to put a sign out there, vote here, with an
Yes.
arrow pointing in here.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a lot more.
yeah,
That's a good idea.
okay. Item 8F, add and repair street lights along dark city streets and city park.
That's mine as well, my request to be on here. One road in general is Mount Olive. Has one street light on it for the whole street, and our street is very, 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 always has been dark. Another area is a resident in Wellington Point. It's got a new house over there that there's no street lights over there.
North?
Yes. City Park, there's at least 7 or 8 lamps out over there.
Yeah, seven
Out?
lights.
That are
Seven.
out.
Yeah,
For last Friday they were.
Where's that?
City Park.
the park.
At the park.
Well, 8. Eight including the mercury vapor light at the
Yeah, we
corner.
stayed well after dark.
It's out.
It's out. That'd be 8 total.
Responsibility for, we have to buy the bulbs.
Well, no,
Is it REA? LEC?
the park is LEC.
Yeah.
Where's your resident in Wellington?
The new
one on North End,
that horseshoe.
that's LEC. Me and the mayor back in January met with LEC about that new street and got a quote from LEC for, how much is that?
$5,711.
For 3 poles out there.
For 3 lights?
That would cover that new street, each intersection and one in the middle. Because the city ordinance specifies there has to be a lamp at each intersection at least. And we figured since the street was brand new, there was nothing in the middle, we put one in the middle. And that's the quote for that. And he was supposed to be getting with you about the ordinance. That was
And I never heard
back in
about this till
January.
today when we was
We
talking
talked
about
about it at staff meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, today. Well,
It's been a long time ago. It's been probably February.
And I'm sure there's
Wasn't there, actually?
other areas, because I hadn't gotten out and driven the whole city, but I know when we used to do it there, we'd see some areas of concern and we'd add
We,
a lamp.
we check them and log them in on, we can do it online now with both LEC and Encore.
Oh, the outages.
The outages, and they can go through, but I'll have night shift tonight, check the park and get out and walk it instead of just drive by and check it. Some of it is gonna be those high efficiency bulbs.
Oh, all of them.
Because
except
even
for
when
one.
they're on, you can barely see them.
Our park.
They kind of glow, but you can't, it doesn't do anything on the ground
Yeah,
to illuminate.
well,
They're
spotlight,
terrible.
it's a spot, it's not a flood.
Yeah. So
We
it's
had the
just,
problem when they first got the bulbs on along the city hall too. They did that. It just like right here and it didn't light up, and they had
Didn't
to
do
come out and
anything.
put some different bulbs. I wonder if there's something they could do.
I'll have to ask them and see what they can do.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
again, it's those high
And
efficiency.
I know that we got those on a grant. So
Yeah.
I don't know how long that we have to keep them, or if,
Well, it's
or
like
if they
anything
can be
else, if they go out, you're gonna have to
Right.
maintain them.
Well, I was referring to something brighter.
That's what I was wondering. If they
Like
could
something-
change
Something
the
new.
light.
And
Right.
that's,
I
and
would
that's another
imagine.
question, since we're talking about it, if it is an issue where traditional lamp is gonna be necessary or a different lamp is gonna be necessary, do you want me to come back to y'all with an assessment of what's needed?
Sure.
Yes.
Or just just decide now, put one on every other pole or every pole, or how do you want to do it?
Well,
No.
just better lights that trail up, that track up, is what my opinion would be for the safety of those using it.
Okay. I'll come back with some information next month.
They have 13
Light up
poles.
without changing.
I'll come back with some 13
So, yeah,
poles? Yeah, there is.
They have 13 poles, so I'd like to see 13 lights. Good lights, bright lights.
There's one.
The kind that actually provides some security.
Right, and
Right.
there's on, like he said,
There are better lights on the grid.
there's one out there and it's burnt out.
Yeah,
So-
and the LEDs then weren't very good. The LEDs now are
Well, these lights burn all night
fantastic,
out
so
there.
that might be an issue.
I
We
mean,
could
we
just
can go
look and
off
see
at
what they got.
Midnight or
But I like for y'all to
morning.
look at Mount Olive, because it's, there's one street.
Which section?
The whole street.
The whole street?
Well, see,
Well, up to down to the curb. I
yeah,
know.
one of the main problems is at the highway, that light, it'll come on, it just cycles. On for 3 or 4 minutes, off for 5 or 10 minutes, back on for 4 or 5 minutes, then back off. So whenever it
The
goes.
one next to the highway?
Mhm.
See, that we just called that one in, not 2 months ago.
Well, see,
About
that's
half.
probably why, because it was out, and then you probably went back by and it was on again, so, oh, okay, well, they got it fixed. But, and whenever it goes out,
Well, no, because
it's dark all the way to,
where they said they fixed that.
well, that's right. I guarantee they came out and said, it's working. They don't know. Yeah,
So the
I got
highway
an
in Mount
email too
Olive,
once, and it's
Right there,
for
highway in
311
Mount Olive.
Parker County.
there's one at Highway in Sugar Hill does that too.
right. And it makes it hard,
Yeah.
also like turning off the highway when you're kind of accustomed, okay, there's the light, and then all of a
There's
sudden
the
it's
highway.
not, and then, it's harder to find the turn.
Are y'all LECs or Encore right there?
LEC.
We have to buy the bulbs, right? They'll put them in,
Well, no, if it's just a bulb, they replace it.
they'll replace it.
Yeah, if it's just a bulb, they just go fix it. If it's a
LEC.
lamp, LEC or Encore, you'll have to buy the lamp. Okay. If it's a pole, like it's a new location, and you got to put a pole up and have the whole assembly, LEC, you're gonna have to buy the pole and everything that goes with it. Encore will put all that up, as long as there's wiring close to where they can just slap a pole up and go at it. If there's some intricate electrical work that has to be done, other than just putting up a pole and a lamp and wiring it, they might charge you for that, but LEC's a lot better to deal with on that than,
We're gonna
or
need,
Encore's a lot better to deal with on that than LEC.
we're gonna need some poles.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll look at it.
At Wellington,
No, Mount Olive,
Mount Olive?
I think you're probably right.
there's none.
There's not one.
And there's a light on it.
There's not
It doesn't
much.
do anything. It's overgrown. It's about like these
I'll look
security
at it.
lamps that just, it doesn't.
Some of it's probably tree cover.
Yeah. One night, just
I'll
drop
go look at it.
It's totally dark.
Okay. I'll come back with some information next month.
Okay. Let there be light.
Let's talk to them and see what they say on those, on the park stuff.
Yeah, I'll
Let's see.
see what they say. I'll probably have to meet somebody out there.
So you're going to update at
Preferably
the
at
June
night.
meeting?
Yeah.
I would like to have it.
That's the problem, is getting one of them to come out there at night, but I could do it. So we talk to somebody.
Get who to come in now.
LEC for the park.
Now, at Wellington North, so we need lights there, and this was for 3 of them? at
That's for
Wellington
3
North?
lights on the new
And
street.
that's LEC. So we're gonna, that was the bid we got
Mhm.
from them for $5,000. Okay. So we need to,
Does it have a street on it? Does that bid have a street? Or
Wellington
location?
Point South Addition,
that's south?
material and labor to install 3 security
See, that's
lights in the
not-
Roger
that's-
Price Addition South. So is that the new street over,
Wasn't south, we met him on the north end.
Just
because
put-
there's a new street over there on the south too?
We met him on the north end, that's for the north side. We met him out there.
You
I
just
know,
got
he
south
probably
and
just-
it's really
He
north.
probably just messed it up, that's for the
Okay.
north end. That's the only place I've talked to them.
Subdivision ordinance at all to see if there's anything that the developer puts lights in, if we
The
look at
city
that?
ordinance specifies we have to put lights in.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering if we could.
I remember at one of the staff meetings that, yeah.
I think you were gone, the reason why you
It's
weren't.
February, I
Yeah.
had surgery, so I think
Yeah.
I missed that.
We're liable. Okay, update for the June meeting on this?
I'll bring back some information. You want an update on that too, or how you want to proceed with that?
We can look here. I mean, it's about to be changed anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
need
got
to
south
look at,
side on it.
I'll look at it and see.
Wellington.
Maybe the rates
Mount
are going
Olive.
down too.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Fine.
we
Come back
have to see if they would
I
honor
mean,
this.
especially if we're going.
What's the date on
look at
that?
getting it more,
January.
maybe
Well,
they
that's-
can work with us.
Yeah, we need to get, see if they're gonna,
Before
that's 5
months, they
months
might not
old.
honor it.
Yeah, so we check with them.
Yeah.
You have any polls?
I'll get with them.
You don't have any polls?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Hey,
Item
that's
8, item 8G, litigation contract with Lamar County Water Supply. We will retire into executive session. No objection at 7:03 PM. We'll return to open session at 7:23 PM. Item 9. Nothing else on the agenda before this council, so we are adjourned.